Alright, it's the Master of the Smack back with another attack. And we're off to 2010 once again to continue what happened after the war between the TNA and the WWE. Speaking of WWE, the Hawk is thinking about bringing back the Idiot Watches series because I really haven't kept up with any shows and I want to see how my boy Jacob is doing. Anyway, so far overall, I'd say WWE has the better show, largely due to the Nexus angle, but in reality, both shows do feel a bit flat. Starting with Raw this week. Following on from the attack on Vince McMahon by the Nexus, the show starts with commentary close to tears. Apparently Wade Barrett has been a really bad boy and he's being punished at WWE headquarters. The first wrestler that we see is the Great White Lobster head Sheamus. He wants to talk about the Nexus beating up Vince McMahon, and he thinks that because he's a champion he needs to be the one to make a statement. He quickly gets distracted though and laughs about how John Cena is no longer the number one contender. He hates Cena for calling him a human jar of mayonnaise. Wiener can take no more of this. Sheamus happily tells him that he's not getting another title shot. Cena isn't here for a shot though, instead he's here to warn Sheamus that he's probably the next target for the Nexus. Cena has a strange idea that he wants to team up with Sheamus to face the Nexus. A horrible noise plays over the speakers and it's the anonymous Raw general manager. The GM says that the Nexus are on the edge of termination and they'll be fired if anyone else is hurt tonight. Also, any WWE superstar who touches the Nexus will be suspended. Cena is disappointed, so he challenges Sheamus again. The Raw GM makes a match of Sheamus versus Mark Henry. Cena randomly flips out in cartoon fashion saying baloney and fake crying. The new GM also creates a new pay-per-view called Money in the Bank. Sheamus is bored and he tries to leave. He hears a strange noise and sees that a cage is being lowered behind him. This is going to hype up the Cena versus Sheamus cage match which will take place at Money in the Bank. Why does Cena somehow always get what he wants? He's an overgrown baby. The opening match is a 6-person tag between the Hart Dynasty and please don't let it be the Usos how great it is. I feel like I've seen this match 3 times already. Well, to be fair, they just end up walking off after a short attack on the Harts. Tamina does charge back into the ring to do a flying splash to Natalya, and there's literally no match to be found here. Let's flip over to TNA. God, I'm really not looking forward to watching this show, that's the feeling I have right now. Don't you just love it when a show starts with the Immortal One? Hogan says the energy here is just like on the big shows, because TNA isn't a big show. He decides that due to the way the 4-way ended on the last Impact without a winner, he's just going to throw all the guys together on pay-per-view. Abyss quickly comes out, he's recently turned heel. Hogan is very confused by his actions considering that Hogan pushed him as soon as he joined TNA. He thinks Abyss owes him something due to Hogan giving him his Hall of Fame ring. Abyss says that they are responsible for all of his actions. When they arrive in TNA, Hogan and Bischoff won't be able to do a thing to stop them. Maybe it's the Nexus. Hogan is livid because he thought Abyss and Hogan had an agreement to take TNA to the next level together. Abyss refuses to reveal who they is. He rips off the Abyssomania gear. He wants Hogan to know that they're taking TNA over. He even takes off his Hall of Fame ring, and yes, he shoves it down Hogan's throat. I love this. Hogan is shaking and gasping like he's having an asthma attack. That is going to be one painful dump for the Hulkster. Abyss fetches broken glass when finally No Job Rob makes the save. It doesn't go well for him as Abyss powerbombs him. Mr. Anderson is called into action. He keeps whacking Abyss for chair but he just won't go down. Anderson dumps in his nappy of fear and pulls the other guys out of the ring. What an awesome opening segment that was. Solid 9 out of 10. It could have been better if the Abyss had slammed Hogan into the glass, but I'm just being picky. That might have been one of the finest promos of the career of Abyss. In the space of just 2 weeks, he's gone from a complete joke similar to Lenny of Mice and Men, and now he's this scary, unstoppable monster. Hogan has now found his voice backstage and he's close to tears. He can't believe Abyss turned on him. Bischoff is there pulling swami faces and saying that he would never expect this from Abyss. Hogan asks if Ric Flair is them. Bischoff doesn't think so. Elsewhere, Madison Rayne and Velvet Scar hanging out in a toilet. Velvet isn't in a good mood because Angelina Love has returned and is working her way through the Beautiful People. She started with Lacey and she's now in hospital. Madison thinks that's funny because Lacey is used to lying on her back jack. Let's switch back to Raw. Back on Raw, a young, goofy Josh Matthews has R-Truth for an interview. He's asked about the Nexus. Truth doesn't want them fired because he'd rather beat them up. Vladimir Kozlov is in the ring and he's facing Santino. The stipulation for this match is if Santino can win, Kozlov will be forced to be his tag team partner. Forever. Santino starts okay, but soon gets caught and hit with Kozlov's massive head and a belly-to-belly. Santino desperately tries to fight back, but he runs into a Kozlov chokeslam, and that is a 30-second match. Kozlov keeps picking him up, and Santino collapses all over the ring. William Regal starts beating on Santino when for some reason Kozlov makes the save for him. What a romantic storyline. Kozlov wants to be the only one who can beat up Santino. We go from Kozlov to Khali. Khali apparently needs to share his opinions on the Nexus. His manager is fed up of translating for Khali and he scurries away. Out of the blue, it's suddenly announced that there's a celebrity guest host for tonight. I thought we'd finished all of that already. We just have a new anonymous GM. Why do we need a celebrity GM? Anyway, it's Rob Zombie. Was Rob Zombie still relevant in 2010? He announces the Money in the Bank ladder match competitors. Randy Orton, Miz, Truth, Jericho, Bourne, DiBiase, Y, John Morrison, and the Edge Man. Edge interrupts him on the Titantron. He laughs about the time that he dumped Zombie's song as his entrance music. Rob Zombie denies that and says he took the song from Edge. Edge spends time bragging that he won the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. It's pretty good hype for the Money in the Bank match, to be fair. Edge's rant is interrupted by the anonymous GM. He makes a main event featuring all 8 guys from the Money in the Bank ladder match in a tag match. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are switching back to TNA for the second time without even seeing a proper match on WWE telly. In the second TNA segment, we are getting a match as Angelina Love will be facing Velvet Sky. Kind of a big deal as these two have so much history together and their friendship in the Beautiful People. I guess that's no more. You know this is a serious match when Velvet doesn't even wipe her ass on the rope. Angelina spears Velvet on the outside. She tries to send her into the steps with Velvet smoothly dropping her to her knees. Velvet doesn't want a pin though and keeps smacking her in the face. Then Velvet hits a move which apparently has a name, the Skyliner. Complete news to me, and trust me, I've watched a lot of Velvet Sky matches. Angelina boots her down and smiles with happiness. Angelina fetches a chair but does the Botox injection. Then they somehow botch a stun gun. That looked painful. Velvet takes way too long deciding what to do next and Angelina DDTs her into the chair. The same thing she did to write Lacey Von Erich off telly. Angelina is going to be rewarded for these 2 DQ losses with a title match on pay-per-view against Madison Rayne. Wrestling logic. In a wooden cabin somewhere, Jay Lethal meets with, I guess, his real-life brother. They do have similar noses. Nash and EY walk around backstage. Nash says he has to distance himself from Scott Hall and he's worried that Bischoff and Hogan will punish Nash for Hall's actions. They hug it out and it sounds like they're done as a team. What a wholesome interaction that was. The Blueprint, Matt Boring, is out next. He says he's not scared of Hernandez and calls him out, but Hernandez is actually in Mexico. Morgan pretends that he doesn't know this fact. He says he'll beat Hernandez in a cage match on pay-per-view. Morgan is then jumped by Homicide, friend of Hernandez. It doesn't really go well for Homicide, who has his skull crushed against the ring pole. There's a great line here from Morgan. He says this will be like a wet dream compared to what he does to Hernandez. AJ Styles is desperately questioning Ric Flair about some sort of package that he's looking for. They're sneaking around trying to find someone too. Back to Raw we go. Well, as we come back to Raw, we will finally see a match as the Great White Lobster Head takes on the world's strongest man. Oh look, there's Lucky Cannon, the NXT rookie. Sheamus quickly gets a 2-off for DDT. He is dominating Henry. He can't follow it up though as his clotheslines have no effect and Henry smacks him down and hits a big splash for a 2. Sheamus wants to escape but he's pressed back into the ring. Bad choice because Sheamus kicks his head off for the 3. Speaking of 3, I don't think we even got 3 minutes here. The Nexus get an interview now with Barrett missing. Michael Tarver does the talking, which isn't a bad thing, it's a good thing. Roidback slips into a roid rage and attacks a production guy. They insinuate they're about to kill Josh Matthews, but unfortunately the cameraman cuts away. Now the King is in the ring, hyping up a new DVD about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and out comes the very man. This episode of Raw is appalling. So far you could skip this and would have not missed a single thing. It's like throwing a brick at a crack house. Nobody cares. Before he can talk, Lawler wants to bring out some more people who want to go over his career. Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Mike Rotunda and Michael Hayes. Malenko says he can't wait to go home and get naked and lie on the couch to watch his DVD. Mike Rotunda tells him to pay the taxes from his DVD money. Michael Hayes just says he's just here because he hasn't had any camera time lately. Double A gets a pretty big pop. Anderson says he never beat Steamboat, but they did have some good matches. Ollie says that Steamboat is probably the best wrestler of all time. Steamboat goes on about something for ages. Yes, the Nexus slowly walk out. Let me guess, once again the Raw roster are going to be too scared to do anything? They love these legends, but will probably just sit in the back as they're beaten to a pulp. The legends actually manage to hold the ring for a while until they don't. Malenko is hurled into a barrier. This goes on for a while, with constant stalemate situations. The legends slowly get outnumbered and the Raw roster do absolutely nothing because they're probably too scared that they will be suspended. But if they all just went together, they can't all be suspended. Steamboat is eventually surrounded. He swings at Ryback with a shut up or I'll smack you one, which I completely agreed with. They start hitting finishers to Steamboat. We're now 60% of the way into the show, with just one 2-minute match between Sheamus and Mark Henry being the best offering. The Nexus beating lasts about 10 minutes and there's no commentary the entire time. Finally, the Nexus leave. That was an unnecessarily long segment when you add the ass kissing and the beating together. Back to the Hulk Hogan show. We've got another match now with Kazarian taking on Jay Lethal. Other than Abyss, Lethal has the most momentum in this company right now. Kaz beats Lethal down in the corner and screams, "That's for Ric Flair, you stupid bastard." Kaz hits a nice Alabama slam for a 2 and he follows that up by dropping Lethal on the ropes and booting his face off. It's all one-way traffic here as Kaz nails a big springboard leg drop. The camera cuts away to show that Ric Flair and AJ Styles are beating up Jay Lethal's brother. This was strange timing to say the least because Kaz is completely on top of him. TNA, why would you do this? Surely it's supposed to throw Lethal off his game. But no, instead this somehow fires Lethal up, who hits a springboard back elbow. Jay Lethal blocks a low blow and almost rolls Kaz into a winning pin. Even the small orange man on commentary is impressed by that one. Kaz reverses the Lethal combination, but he still can't get the win. He soils his nappy of anger. In typical TNA fashion, Jay Lethal wins with the Lethal injection. This begs the question, why cut away from the match to do the stuff with Lethal's brother if it had no consequence to the actual match? Ric Flair appears on the Titantron screaming that he has Lethal's brother. Lethal slowly gorms at the screen and walks backstage. Up next, a wild slapnuts appears. Come on, Jay.
Jeff Jarrett.
Old Double J will be having a grudge match against the Stinger. Sting quickly disappears into the rafters and Jarrett slowly beats him back down the steps. The cameraman cuts back to the ring to show Sting is in the ring. It appears that there's 2 Stings. Jeff Jarrett has the fake Sting in the ring. He then realised that it isn't Sting as the real Sting chokes him out of a baseball bat. Steve Borden eventually releases him and continues smacking him with a bat. The crowd happily wave and clap Sting. He has a mic now and says if he walks with Hogan and Bischoff, he's going down with Hogan and Bischoff. Why doesn't Sting go attack them instead of Slapnuts? It doesn't make sense, that's who the real beef is with. Let's slip back to Raw. Back on Raw, the legends are being stretchered away. Michael Cole says it was smart by the Nexus because they will only be suspended if they attack a WWE wrestler. Cole is close to tears. I thought it was pretty funny personally. If you think this episode of Raw is bad now, then it's about to get worse because the Divas are out next. It's a tag match with Maurice and Alicia Fox taking on Gail Kim and Eve Torres. Boring, it's the same match every week. Why they choose to focus on Alicia Fox and Eve over the other two is anybody's guess. This crowd sound restless. Wow, Gail Kim actually does get tagged in this one, I'm shocked. She hits a Hurricanrana to Alicia Fox. She follows that with a Total World crossbody. She drop kicks Fox into the corner who dumps in a thong with fear and runs away. Maurice distracts Gail, which allows Fox to hit a sort of scissors kick for the 3. Well, it was the same rubbish as it is every week with these women. This episode of Raw is a pile of bird turd. They chose to air 5 minutes of highlights of the Nexus attacks now, so I'm going to bail and watch TNA. We'll come back for the Raw main event. Out next is Perk Angle. He's working his way through the top 10 contenders until he can once again become the heavyweight champion. He's facing Desmond Wolfe, and these two have just had an epic feud about 6 months earlier, but Wolfe has since slipped down the card. They try to out-wrestle each other in the early going. Wolfe is still hanging around with his manager Chelsea, who keeps costing him matches. Angle is smashed into the post and hurts his shoulder. Desmond throws Kurt overhead with a nice suplex onto his shoulder. Wolfe is still being distracted, but manages to take Kurt down with an arm wringer. Angle suddenly wakes up and starts throwing Wolfe with suplexes. Desmond slips away to the ankle slam, but gets 3 German suplexes for his troubles. Desmond still has something in the tank after that one and nails a hammerlock for a 2. Wolfe attempts his finisher, which Kurt reverses with an ankle slam, and Wolfe then taps out to the ankle lock. Chelsea is very happy that her man lost. Why is he keeping her around? It doesn't make any sense. Backstage, Mr. Anderson already looks half dead, but he's apparently in a Fool's Cat Anywhere match tonight. But first, Douglas Williams is in the ring screaming. He doesn't like the X Division guys and hates how they jump through the air like acrobats. Especially Brian Kendrick. This brings out Brian Kendrick, but whether you can understand what he's trying to say is a question for another day. Basically, I think he wants an Ultimate X match for the title, but that match can also end by submission. Seems pointless. Douglas suggests that they both leave on good terms tonight, but of course he's lying. Kendrick reads him like a book though and locks him in the Cobra Clutch. Backstage, Abyss cuts a promo that nobody understands him. He sounds like a broody teenager. He vows to take out Anderson tonight on behalf of the mystery they. In the back, Jeff Hardy's stoner friend and Bubba Dudley are brawling. Devon Dudley is getting annoyed about his brother's antics. He wants Bubba to leave Jesse and Shannon alone. Randomly, we're told that it's the finals of the tag title tournament. Completely forgot this was even a thing. It will be Beer Money taking on the men with mohawks. Okay, just one man with a mohawk. Jesse has been taken out by the Dudleys. The ref is a dick and rings the bell. Jeff Hardy's stoner friend does well for a while on his own. He clears the ring and shouts out Jeff Hardy's name. Dreamer, Raven and Richards are in the crowd, which distracts Shannon, and I'm not really sure why. Storm throws Shannon into a fence to calm him down. The commentary team say it was because Shannon stole Raven's face paint. Jesse Neal stumbles out to the ring. Dreamer looks annoyed about a little kid bothering him. Shannon tags Jesse and the crowd go berserk for Jesse as usual. He hits a belly-to-belly on Storm. Shannon dives on Rude and they're about to win with the Morgasm, but Rude breaks that up. But Jesse sends beer money together and almost comes close to a win. Ultimately, Jesse Neal gets sprayed with beer and he's beaten by a DWI, so that sets up the Motor City Machine Guns vs Beer Money at the pay-per-view. Personally, I think it should have been a triple threat. AJ and Kaz are bickering backstage. AJ finally finds his package. Kaz says it can't be his package because it's way too big. The big box contains a tiny AJ Styles action figure. AJ is ecstatic with his little toy. Kaz tells him to go and play with himself. Whilst AJ does that, let's catch up with the last part of Raw. Just the main event on Raw, an 8-man tag. Edge, Jericho, The Miz and Ted DiBiase versus The Truth, The Morrison, Airborne and The Viper Randy Orton. Bourne takes out DiBiase early with a flying kick off the apron. He kicks him all over the place until The Miz gets the tag. Bourne drop toe holds him, boots him and does a cannonball in the corner. DiBiase takes a cheap shot to turn the match, and now Jericho will face off with his mortal enemy. This match has truly turned with Jericho teasing Bourne's partners. The Miz comes in. He shouldn't have bothered as Bourne slips out a suplex and tags Morrison. John Morrison hits a springboard kick before DiBiase breaks up Starship Pain. Morrison corkscrews them anyway. During an advert break, Jericho starts using a ladder on Morrison. The match just trundles along for a while with Orton having wrestled precisely 0 of this match. It is a good match though. Bourne misses the Airborne and he's hit with a code breaker. Randy finally joins the match, and just as DiBiase is tagged in, he instantly hits an RKO and it's over just like that. Wow, thanks for being a part of this match, Randy. The Edge man is a bad loser and he starts playing with ladders. Morrison and Bourne work together to take him out. The Miz hits a facebuster and he climbs up the ladder to be symbolic. Unfortunately for him, Orton doesn't like symbolism and he tips the ladder over. Maybe he was just jealous because Orton climbs up the ladder and does exactly what The Miz wanted to do. It's over. A one-match show. And it wasn't even like it was a 5-star match. It was fine. Anyway, the last part of TNA. It will be a Falls Count Anywhere match pitting Abyss against Mr. Anderson. Anderson isn't hanging around here. He knows he's in for a fight. Mr. Anderson takes him down with Luther's press, which causes Abyss to bail from the ring. Anderson fetches a chair for the crowd, but is too busy smiling and Abyss smacks the chair at him. Mr. Anderson does manage to fight back with a drop toe hold into the chair, and he wedges it in the corner, and Anderson almost falls into the chair, but he manages to hide under the ring. He comes back with a cane. Anderson's enjoying this match, or he was, until he's thrown into the side of the entrance ramp. Abyss uses the chair to take out some frustrations. He tries an ass drop, which backfires, and I've never seen that move work for Abyss. Now Anderson tries a swanton bomb, but Abyss gets his knees up. Dude, I was watching TNA Impact the other day, man, and this asshole, Mr. Anderson, he stole my swanton bomb finishing maneuver, man, but he missed it. Man, I'm going back to North Carolina, and I'm going to tell my stoner friend Shannon all about you, Mr. Asshole Man. Abyss instantly launches Anderson into the steel chair and gives Anderson a shock treatment backbreaker, and surprisingly that's the 3. Wow, fair play TNA, you did the right thing. The man who has all the momentum actually won. Abyss tries to throw Anderson off the ramp after the match, but he can't. Anderson tries to do the same thing and he also can't. And then Abyss just choke slams him off the ramp. See, why couldn't we have this Abyss all of the time? Hogan walks up behind Abyss for chair. His weak ass chair shot doesn't hurt Abyss. Abyss kills security and continues his Hogan face down and the show ends. There was actually supposed to be a Hogan vs Abyss match here, but it would end up being a waste of time because Hogan was too injured to do that match. Final thoughts. Not bad at all, TNA. It's nice to see Abyss being deadly, not being goofy and actually winning. There was a couple of decent matches and everyone had a storyline. There's also build towards angles with the ECW guys and they, which Abyss keeps referencing. I liked this show. It didn't blow. I'll tell you what did blow though. Raw. You take the Nexus out of there and you're left with a completely flat show. Nobody could possibly care about it. Even the in-ring stuff was bad other than the main event. Sometimes it's pretty inconclusive, but this week it's an easy answer. TNA takes the win, and if you don't agree with that, I'll take away your grin.